I call the regular meeting of the county commission to order. All three commissioners are here. Before we start, I think the first item of big business is the moment of silence for the Waldo County Commissioner, Betty Johnson, who passed away, who, if anybody remembers, a few months ago, or years ago now, when we first had our problems with the communications, she was on the board of the commissioners for Waldo County, and she was one of those ones that spoke in favor of us partnering with Waldo while we worked through the issues that we had. And if you haven't had a chance to read her obituary, it just reads like a testament to the amount of public service that she did in Belfast and Waldo County for years and years. So just a moment of silence. Of course, the problem with a moment of silence is how long is a moment? At any rate, the rest of our agenda, commission updates. Do any of the commissioners have any updates they would like to share with the public?
But I did want to bring up LV.
2158.
No, different one. I'm sorry. The LV number 2124 that Maddie brought to our attention about the state trying to take more of the revenue from deeds, registry of deeds. And I don't know, Ed, I wanted to ask you if you had heard anything in the MCCA legislative meetings about that specific issue.
Well, we have discussed it. I don't know where it stands at the moment. I'm sure that the commission, the main commissioners association will address it through our lobbyists, but I have a feeling a number of other commissioners will be speaking against it.
Okay.
But yes, it's working its way through the system. I think that we're all aware of it.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure if they were going to actively be lobbying on that issue.
Yeah, it's an active one.
Yeah.
Because it affects all of us.
Okay, great. And the sponsor of that bill is Drew Gaheen in Westbrook. And I don't know if anybody knows Drew, but I know him, and I'm planning to reach out to him, and I think it might be worth it for all, other county commissioners to reach out directly to Drew, because I think that's the case of robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it's I think it's everybody needs money, including the counties, and I think taking money from the county is sort of a not a great path. So anyway, I just want to bring that up.
Great.
Yeah, thanks.
Just a couple things, nothing that he did, but concerns about two areas. First thing I wanted to bring up is with everything that's happened in Minneapolis and ICE, I'd just like to make a statement about hopefully people understand the difference between our local deputies and police officers that are well trained and provide and live in our community, part of our environment, and very committed to doing proper law enforcement. And I think it's really important that people understand, try and keep the separation between them and what's going on in other parts of the country, and maybe in Portland later on, that don't confuse our local law enforcement with what's going on with some of the federal people. I'm, as a former member of the LA County Sheriff's Department, I'm concerned, I get concerned about what I see, about the training they perhaps have in the way they're or running running the organization. But our local people are priceless. And I think it's really important to that for people to remember that keep that separation. I don't want people to make the mistake of confusing our local people with federal people. It's real. And the other thing, at some point, I think it will come up. I'm still not clear on some of the grants that are coming down from the federal government. They've changed the terminology to require people that accept the grants to perform more in line with federal ICE rules and laws, which are not lawful in our local communities. And I want to make sure that we're clear on the wording and specifics and know exactly what we're getting into before we accept any grants. Because I've heard conflicting reports, I've seen conflicting paperwork, and I want to make sure we know exactly what we're doing before we accept anything that obligates us to something we don't want to be a part of.
Just to weigh in a little bit, I think we've improved our grant acceptance policy here. For years, the grants have been applied for by departments without any approval from the commission. And I think at the moment, we've got it down to any monies that come through this county have to go through the commission. And so any grants before they're accepted will have to be approved by the commission. So we will have the final say, which unfortunately in some cases turns something that's a simple matter of just applying for money into a political overtone. But I think the political overtones that you're talking about are already there from the federal government, which is why we have to keep an eye on it.
I just want to make sure that everybody's clear that we're aware of what's going on and we're not just willy-nilly accepting anything that comes to us without being aware of the consequences and what happens.
Great, thank you. You know, I have nothing to add at the moment. So we will move on to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to address the commission? Chief, welcome.
Thank you. Chris Wyckoff, Fire Chief of the City of Rockland, taxpayer in the City of Rockland as well, so throw that in there. I just wanted to bring a few things to note to maybe you guys will have a discussion on it or maybe not, but this might spur a discussion. It's around the dispatch center and obviously the budgetary problems that the county is seeing right now, but we've heard some, well, not rumors, but we've heard some information and felt this would be a good time to at least get in front of you all and have a chance to discuss it. But we've been told that the communication center has been addressed and has been asked to not fill any overtime positions. They've been asked to try to keep the level of certification inside the center to one certified dispatcher and one call taker, if possible. They've also been told they're not going to get any upgrades in their communication equipment with their computers. Obviously, all of these are issues and concerns we have from the public safety side of things. I can speak on the fact that the equipment is obviously extremely vital to fire, EMS, police, dispatch, everybody. We've had a few issues over the last few weeks where some bugs in the systems have rendered the communication center essentially inoperable for minutes on end. While they figured a few things out, thankfully they got it figured out and we're back on track. But obviously, big safety concerns that we have. And for myself, the dispatch center is finally in a good position again. They finally have good people. They finally have good people who care about the job they're doing. Finally have good people who not only care about the job they're doing, but the people they work with and including us. It definitely seems to be a great step forward in all of that. Obviously, the staffing is coming up, which is all good. You know, we just kind of have stability in the dispatch center. Again, we have a great director that's doing good things. We have, again, good employees that are doing good things, and we want to keep it that way. I think a reminder of a point that the fees that go into that center are fees, they're not taxes. They're fees that are paid separate by the towns, and they're directed in one area and need to stay in that area. Cutting the budget to save one side of or cutting the fees to save a side of the county budget is obviously not something that we think should be happening. And I'm not saying that's happening, but that certainly is the discussion going around. And we want to see things move in a positive direction. We don't want to see things go backwards. Finally think that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and certainly with the new director in place and the new employees that are working there, we're seeing good things, and we want to keep them. Anybody?
I'd like to ask some questions. First off, one thing that's really important, is, and we all hear different things and heard it from different people. Heard, well, this was done by this person. One thing that I think is important for everybody to remember that the commission has to work as a trio. We're not allowed to make independent decisions. So, if anything needs to be done, then work on it together. I am curious about where the discussion came that we're only allowed to have one certified person and then one just call taker. Can either Mike and then talk about that, and then or Jessica, and then Kathy, I'd like to ask about how do we deal with the dispatch center, because I think Chief Whitetalk is right. It's based on fees that we charge the people, charge the counties, not so much the taxes. And is there a way to make sure that we cover what needs to be covered?
I think the big picture is the communication has 1.4 in the 25 budget, which is what we have to work with right now until we can pass a 2026 budget. And communications does stand alone, so we're not looking at communications to help fund anything else in the county. It's just that the 1.4 is what's available in the 25 budget. It's what we have to work with. The projection of what they need for 26 is much higher. So the discussion has been, how do we come more in line with what 25 was and what's available right now for 25?
If I can explain just a little
Yeah.
further. It cost more money to run the center last year than we had budgeted.
Yeah.
So we took some of that money out of the reserve accounts for so what we're limited by right now by state law is spending no more than last year's budget. And unfortunately, or fortunately, that department's budget, though it's paid for by a separate fee, is still a part of our budget. And so we voted for a certain amount last year. That's the amount we're stuck with. So what flows from that is how much money do we have until we get a new budget passed? And it's less money than it took to run the budget last year, run the department last year. So we can't quite run it or staff it quite the way we were hoping to, even if we were going to increase it this.
Well, I have some questions about that, because some things I don't understand. Last year, the budget, we went way over budget because we had to pay extra fees to bring in people from the outside to staff us up when we didn't have our own people. Those fees have now retreated back to where we normally pay people, and we have our regular staff. So why aren't, and which is what we should have budgeted for in we should have been budgeted for in 2025. Why is that not covering 2026?
I mean, I think that Bob and Jessica could speak to it, but we have contracts that are more in 26 than in 25 that are not negotiable that we need to cover outside of personnel costs. We are still utilizing some per diem that are at a premium cost that necessarily weren't part of our base in 25. I believe that we're also staffing at a little bit of a different level than what we budgeted for going into 25. Things changed. We did our 25 budget in October of 24.
Right.
Things have changed, so those are components. We have more in benefits and health insurance costs. So things are going up in 26 that we still have to cover with a 25 base.
I guess one of my problems then, I guess, has to do with 2024, and obviously we're way beyond that. But I would have thought the center should have always been staffed to be a fully staffed center. If it wasn't, that I think that would have been a problem, and but that's nothing we can fix right now. I'd like to ask about what is Jessica or Mike, what is the particular staffing right now? And can you address what Chief Whitehawk had to say about, you know, he's heard that only an certified one call taker. Can you articulate more about that?
Sure. So right now, excuse me, right now we're up to 10 dispatchers. 2 of them are in training. One of them is brand new, so complete training. The other one that's in training is transferred to us from the jail, who is also one of our per diems, so he's only got like part training he has to do. As far as that goes, we've got 8 fully certified dispatchers on the floor. And there's another fully certified dispatcher from another county that wants to come over. So we are nearly fully staffed. We've got 2 positions, there's supervisor positions, currently. And when we're fully staffed, it's very plausible that the per diem folks, which make more than anybody that works for them, with the exception of one, could actually not be a necessary thing anymore. Excuse me. As you well know, it's difficult for us to plan on exactly when the best time is to staff the center. So needing to always have at least 2 on the floor just makes sense. We can't plan emergencies, and like when the tragedy happened, the child got ran over by the school bus. In the city of Brooklyn, the town of Union had a 3-car accident that was nearly a fatal at the exact same time. There was no way. There were happened before of us in the room when that happened. And we were maxed out. And so we kind of have to sort of try to plan for that sort of thing. I've been working on other schedules and such that can change so that we make sure that we have at least always 2 people on the floor, and maybe an overlapping shift coming in that can help cover during peak times and peak days, maybe holidays and that kind of a thing. But as far as overtime, it's definitely going to be lower, and it's changing, and of course everybody's no longer at crisis pay.
Well, I think that the important question is Chief Whitehawk's concerned that if you have 2 people on, one of them is not fully trained.
Right. Two fully certified is the goal, and that's how we're staffing right now.
Okay.
That's how we're staffing right now.
So,
And as far as the information that went out, I know that I got an email from Chief Thompson from Union on Saturday, and Mike spoke to him about that, about some rumors that the fire departments were hearing, and it was all, I don't know where it all came from. I know that Mike and Bob and I had a conversation on Friday about things that we needed to look at and anticipate for, possibly changing the staffing. We did it before when we were in crisis, why couldn't we do it again, that sort of thing. So how it all got out there initially, it definitely put up a lot of hairs on everybody's neck, because staffing at center with one is a terrifying prospect.
Yeah.
And it's something that I won't do that. I won't let that happen, because it's dangerous.
well, I think the only thing that perhaps the misinformation did brought us a lot of company for today's meeting, which is nice to see everybody. Hopefully, does anybody else have any questions about how we move forward? Any of the chiefs have any questions about how we move forward? Perhaps a meeting with the dispatch director is maybe a good idea to.
I have one. So apparently at one point in time, the executive board over dispatch actually also took care of their budget. They're the ones that voted on their budget. And that isn't a thing anymore, but I don't know why. Maybe you might know why? Because the executive board represents the towns and the first responders that we actually dispatch. And because our operational costs, most of them, 95% of them, when we're doing things fine, come out of the fee structure, that actually kind of makes sense.
Do we know when that change was made? Ken, do you have any?
My understanding is that they see the budget and they approve it before it comes forward. So they're not in the budget committee and the commission, but it's something that is approved before it comes to us. I'm not sure, and maybe someone else can speak, I don't know the process, if there's change along the way. But my understanding was they are involved.
So yesterday I spent 3/4 of my day sitting at my law's union charter. Past commission notes, reading on the building of this center. In 2013, the commission only approved the budget. In the 2014, someplace along the way in there, the charter was written. And the charter states that both the budget committee and the commission have to see the budget and approve it in the final vote. And so in 2015, that's what transpired, and it's been that way ever since. The executive board does see the budget, although they can approve it, but I can tell you it gets torn up after that by the county, by the commission, by the budget committee, and the budget's totally different than what they saw.
Who builds the original budget?
So the original budget in past practice that when I was here gets information from the executive board, builds a budget, takes it back to the executive board for them to look it over, and then it comes and we meet with finance department and the county administrator, and then they take it from there and give it to the commission. The commission approves it, it then comes to the budget process, so the budget committee oversees, takes their clause into it. Then the vote comes down with what the budget committee presents back to the commission. And then it finally gets a yay or nay from there.
At what time does the director of the dispatch center get a chance to be involved in setting the budget? It seems that.
Pretty much right from the beginning.
Okay, it seems like she would be the person most important to.
Yep.
Know what she needs to provide the service.
Correct.
In the past, has a member of the E-board come to the budget committee meeting when, Jessica, you wouldn't know that, obviously, but Bob, do you know?
Generally speaking, there has not been. I have in past, we have had there's been somewhat of representation because Ray was here. We usually come the same night, so Ray was here. So if there happened to be something, but there's never been a question that the executive board would be having to answer.
And one last question for me, not, having a big background in the county budget process. And because this is different, because this is fees, why does the budget committee get an opportunity to mix with it?
I was looking at this stuff with Bobby yesterday, actually. One of the reasons is because years ago, when I still worked over here in the admin office, I did a timeline of the dispatch center when it all kind of started in the 90s up until I think it stopped in 2014.
Yes.
Before I came over to EMA. It all came down to who happened to be the attorney talking to the county administrator at the time. Every year was a little bit different. There's always this sense of heartburn of the county administrator and the dispatch folks didn't think the budget committee should be reviewing it because it was fee-based as opposed to the rest of the budget. But then the next year, when the budget committee would get really upset about that, it would go back to legal review, and then maybe in a different attorney would say, no, it needs to all be under the same process. So it went back and forth several times. So that, if anyone wants to look at that document, it is online. I can share the link with anyone who wants it. It is available, but it does kind of show how it goes back and forth. So It just depends on what time frame you're looking at and who the county attorney happened to be at the time. It's evolved.
Can I just comment on fees? I just want to put some clarity around this. When we think of fees, we think it's a charge. So we charge the town $10,000 and we're gonna up it to 11 next year. But how the communications work is a calculation. And in that calculation is totally based off the budgeted number. So if the budgeted number can't move, we can't increase the fee.
So that's our particular situation right now.
Correct. So our budgeted number in the interim cannot move, therefore our fees cannot increase.
But he's talking a little bit more long-term about why can't fees be separate from the regular budget? And one of the reasons it can't be is because of state law that says that all fees, all monies have to go through the commission. And the process is, because of the way it's set up, goes through the budget committee. Pure and simple, all the monies have to do that, just like the grants do, so does that. I think if you go a little further back into the documentation, one of the ways that the whole department was set up was through contracts with individual towns. And I believe in the contracts, it says that the fees will be set by the commission, by the county. So I think there's a big argument for getting more input from the executive board or from that group of people, but the ultimate say is always gonna wind up being with the county. And that, therefore with us.
That makes sense. It's just maybe it's a matter of educating whatever the legal, educating the budget committee, and maybe we should have a representative from the executive committee to educate them about these are based on fees, and maybe we can use that process to make sure we get the proper budget that the dispatch center needs. And again, this is not dealing with this year's.
So it's a fee, but when we bill the county, the towns, it just comes across as one number. Basically, and they look at that and say, oh, our taxes are going up 5%. Because it's part of that same number. You know, and they're not gonna say, oh, that's a fee as opposed to a tax.
But that's an education process. We can educate them to say, this number should not change because it's based on fees. It's just a matter of education, of letting them know.
It's not part of the tax bill of the town. It's billed two different ways. It's billed as a communications fee, and then the county taxes are separate. So it's completely separate because it's a separate warrant article, especially I know in my town, because it's one that I get chewed out every year for about communications. They don't chew me out about the county. They chew me about communications because I sit on the board. And it's because it has to go to us as a user group to approve the budget. It goes to us and then it gets chewed up, going to you, going to the budget committee. And so whatever we originally agreed on with the director is totally different. And so if we have plans and we see needs and we're trying to justify that, someone gets bent sideways and says, no, you're not gonna have that, because I remember that. And when I first joined the board in 2015, they needed chairs and monitors in that center. And someone on the budget committee didn't like the director at the time. They cut that out. That's why I think it shouldn't, no offense to the commission or the budget committee, it shouldn't be with you. It should be between the director to us. If you want to oversee it and say, yeah, okay, it's not crazy, that's fine, but it should be us that decide, because we're the ones that have to go to the towns and have the pitchforks after us.
So can I say something? So we tried to be as creative as possible. We went through all the contracts that Ed was talking about. They are written that way currently. That doesn't mean we can't change them, but we got a legal opinion as well to try and say, how do we get out of this? And unfortunately, the law is written that way, where it is part of the budget, which means it's ownership is the commission. So until the law changes, we can't do anything according to what the legal opinion said. So we've tried every which way to look at this, to make it creative and get you guys a solution, but fortunately, that's right now, that's the only way to do it. What I was told from the.
Because we did our due diligence and we went through this budget, and the user group approved what had been done.
Yeah. So to Mark's point, I think maybe some more education along the way and how those cuts affect everything downstream.
I think we might have another opportunity. It's not gonna solve the immediate issue, but in the longer term, we do have to look at the county charter again because of the issue that we're having with the budget committee. And perhaps we could explore having a specific seat for an e-board member in the future so that the budget committee has the e-board directly represented on that committee. It's just an idea, but it's something that we might want to consider that goes a step beyond just the education piece, which I think is also important to have a lot of folks show up for those budget committees and make sure that the budget and the commission hear loud and clear why the budget that was sent to us is so important.
Chief, would you have?
Chief Mayor, first, but
Chief Thompson's point, there is no county tax line in my budget now. There is a line for the 911 fee. But I have to argue for every line of my budget every year, the town, my select board, as well as the budget committee. I am more than happy to argue with both of those groups about the necessary improvements and necessary budgeting for this center to operate and not be run into the ground again. That is not something that you all have to represent as part of the tax base, because it is not a tax. It goes in my budget just the same as it goes in Chief Thompson's, and probably every other chief sitting here. And just like every other line in my budget, I am more than happy to defend that.
I think where we are, or excuse me, Chief Whiteout, if you want to speak.
I was just gonna say, obviously, Morgan said there's a short-term issue and hopefully a long-term solution, that we can all get to, but I guess my message to the three of you is, things are going well at the dispatch center. I don't know whether they have $5 in their account or $5 million in their account. Things are going well. Don't let it get back to the way that it used to be, because things are going good and I obviously I don't understand the totality of what the county budget is dealing with right now. Thankfully, that's three of you. But we actually don't like coming to county commission meetings, believe it or not, and that's not not a slight on the three of you, but our absence, I think, probably shows that things are going in the direction they need to be going in, and some of us thought that they would never be back there.
Well,
I guess the only way I can say it is, don't make us start having to be loud again and disrupting things, because it's a necessary evil when we have to get to that point, but people are doing some pretty impressive things up there, and I would say if you've got to cut any other budget, leave this budget till the end and leave it alone.
I think where we are now is we discovered that the misnomer about who was allowed to be on the staffing right now was not accurate. And so the director will be making sure that we have the coverage that we can cover right now with certified people. So short term, I think there's a better understanding. Long term, I think we need to work within the law and start with education. And as Commissioner Morton Hines said, we need to see if we can change the charter, do everything we can do to make things work better and simpler. I think one of the problems becomes such a complex process that there's too many, things in the way of it getting it done the proper way. So we have a short-term solution and hopefully a long-term goal.
Just when the communication center started to collapse, one of the things we talked about was governance. Does it make sense for the county to be the overriding body that organizes this and pays for it, whether it's through fees or taxes, however it is. And I think we started the discussion that maybe the county isn't necessarily the best place for that to be. You know, we don't necessarily have to change the charter if we change the governance model or the center itself. So I think that's part of the discussion too. If it does need to stay within the county because we're a good fiscal agent, then we need to figure out how to better fund it. I don't think in this particular budget, we're gonna have a real problem. I think everybody up here understands that one of the big differences between where we were when it started to collapse and now is the amount of money it costs. We know that it costs a lot more money than we thought it did. And everybody here knows that one of the problems we got into was we weren't budgeting enough money. And so I think, we'll work on the budget and it needs to be a responsible budget. And I think that this group of users will make sure that it's a responsible budget. But I think you've got a lot more of a sympathetic ear right now than you've had in the past.
And I think it's important, we communicate a lot more than we ever did before. And we need to make sure that we communicate as that budget comes up. We need to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that we all know what everybody else is doing.
But
Just real quick. I guess at this point, for the director, she needs to know exactly how she's supposed to build this budget. She keeps getting different avenues and not a straight answer from, well, I'm gonna go with a straight answer from the commission, because they're the ones that are gonna oversee this. She needs to know exactly how the interim budget needs to go. She needs to know how exactly she needs to build her 2026 budget. At this point, she keeps coming to me. I wasn't here in December, but from what I'm trying to fill in, I can't help her because I don't know exactly the group that you guys are wanting for the interims, and we keep getting different stories. So we need the county needs a straightforward answer on what they're supposed to, how they're supposed to build their interim budget and how they're supposed to build their 2026 budget. A straight answer.
Understood. One other question, the one other thing that Chief Rutto brought up was the computers for the dispatch center. And I know that we have stressed people ahead of equipment, but where do you stand with the safety of the equipment in the call center?
She needs 4 computers. Because you've got 4 computers, well, there's 6 computers in the room. 4 of them are used 24/7. They run 24/7, they're at their end of their limit, 5 years. IT will tell you, and you can ask most any IT person, 5 years on a 24/7 computer. They're running. But at any given moment, it could just go and be done. So I'm saying, I told her, we were asking for 10. We've cut it to 4, which are your main computers in the room. That's a necessity, because if that dies in the middle of a phone call, I don't know what will happen.
Okay, that's one. Can you prepare a budget that we can see about that? I don't know where we're gonna get the money, but it's something maybe is a necessity.
Yeah, and I think we do want to offer as much clarity as we can about the budget process. It's obviously been confusing for everybody. And there keep being data points that we say, okay, well, we can't quite make a decision yet because we're waiting for this one more piece of information. And so it keeps delaying a little bit, but hopefully I think we can have those questions answered sooner rather than later. And, you know, I just want to address the concerns of backsliding with the PRCC. I think no one in this room wants to come anywhere near the shape that it was in a year ago. And so I think we are all very committed to sustaining a high functioning communication center. And I think it is going to take some creative and collaborative work to get there. And I think everybody in this room is also willing to do that. So having you all come here and share your concerns with us only contributes to that collaboration and allows us to get to where we need to be to make sure that we're in good shape. And certainly we're going to work with Jessica and Mike and Kathy to get that done.
Anything else? If not, any other public comments? Anybody else wishing to address the commission? On any other issue? Seeing as there's none, we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, you know. We'll have a fine afternoon.
They've got work to do. Okay, the next part is because this is the January meeting, this is the beginning of a commission year. And we have on the agenda the election of officers where we elect the chair, the vice chair, and then representatives to a series of different committees. I suppose the first thing is the election of the chair.
Ed.
I will second it.
I feel like you're ganging up on me.
And you don't have to accept it. It's up to you.
No, I'm happy to.
Okay.
I'm happy to, if that's what we want to do. Any other nominations? Nominate somebody else. Nomination does not have to be seconded. But that's all right. If you'd like to nominate somebody else, we certainly may.
Anybody else want the job? You're stuck with it.
Okay, then, since there's only one nomination, I believe that makes it a unanimous consent. And then the next is, the vice chair.
I nominate Morgan.
And though it doesn't need to be seconded, I'd be happy to. Any other nominations? If somebody else wanted.
If you don't want it, Mark. I mean, I think you were the vice chair this past year.
No, I think you were.
Was I?
Yeah.
Well. I guess I'll do it again.
And if there's no other nominations from the floor, by unanimous consent, you are the vice chair. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And then we have the representatives to the coastal counties workforce, to the union negotiating team, to the Airport Public Advisory Committee, Mid-Coast Council of Government Strategic Planning Committee, and the Two Bridges Regional Jail Representative. Do we want to do these individually?
Make a motion, we continue what we, continue the people that were in the jobs previous years so that they, there's continuity there.
Well, what we have is, I was the representative to the coastal counties workforce. Who was union negotiations?
Yeah.
Mark. Airport Public Advisory Committee was also Mark.
Yes.
If you want to keep doing that.
Yes.
Mid-Coast Council of Governments.
Well, I was on the strategic planning committee, but I didn't realize there was a separate MCOG
Yeah,
seat, but I'm happy to do both of those since it's MCOG doing the strategic planning.
it doesn't list it here, but I've already been appointed to the, as a representative to the Maine County Commissioners Association. It's not here, but the other one is a new one, which is the Two Bridges Two Bridges Regional Jail Representative. Who would like to do that?
You've been doing some of that.
I was doing some of that. There wasn't a lot of activity on the, I forget the name of it, the collaborative work group, with the counties. I'm happy to continue.
This is gonna be a little bit more formal,
Yes.
because the Two Bridges has regular meetings. A group of members from the two different counties. Two different counties. And we're not representatives, we will be sitting in on their meeting. I believe that the way it's set up is, the sheriff is automatically a member of this is how the regional jail is set up, not how we are set. As a member, there's, the sheriff is on that committee. I think there may be one or two commissioners on there, and I believe 3 citizens. So they have like 5 members apiece or 6 members apiece. If we do this, we would have one commissioner on there. We'd be non-voting members, we'd be sort of advisory, listening in to see how we're doing until we become a member. The sheriff obviously would be there. But there's also, we have the ability to pick 3 citizens. And what I would like us to each do is, because we each represent a different district, is to each find somebody in your district who would be then be a representative to the commission, the 2 bridges. And we can discuss and vote on them once we get those nominations from you two. If that makes sense.
How often are the meetings?
Does the sheriff know?
Pretty sure they're monthly.
So there's a work in progress, but if you would like to be the member from the commission, certainly.
I'm happy to, if either of you have a strong interest in that,
Well, we were on the jail collaborative, and it makes sense to take the next step. If you don't want to do it, or if it's too much, we can do the monthly meeting, I'd be happy to.
I'm happy to
That's
do it if I start to feel like it's too much, I'll let you guys know.
There's alternate case.
Then hopefully next month or the next meeting, we'll have some names for people.
Okay.
Like that. Yep. And if anybody's interested in being a representative to that committee from Knox County, let us know. Next is our routine business. No, I don't mean here. I mean, I think we'll bring up.
Was there a vote on Commissioner Bradley's motion?
I can second his motion to approve these,
Oh,
the
well, the position.
representatives.
No, we just sort of let it slide. If we move and seconded, any other discussion? Seeing this is none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Yes, which does bring up, is it on here further down? Yes, okay, we'll leave that down at the bottom. Routine business, things that we normally vote on are the agenda, the minutes of regular commission meeting from December 9th, the minutes of the special commission meeting of December 16th. The department head reports from December of 2025, payroll and expense warrants and reserve withdrawals. Well, your motion to accept all those as a blanket approval.
One change, we have additional agenda and we need to vote on that for the airport.
Oh, to add to the agenda?
Yeah.
Yes. Good point.
It's this one.
Right, I was just thinking in terms of unanimous consent to add it. But yes, would you read the what you'd like to add?
Let's see, last night, the APAC meeting concluded with the nomination appointment timeline as well as a press release, all requiring commission approval. And it's, so the agenda item would be act to call for nominations to fill the following 3 seats on the Airport Public Advisory Committee, APAC, District 2, South Thomaston, and Airport Business. And to approve the nomination appointment timetable as well as the January 13, 2026 press release.
It's been moved, is it seconded? Any discussion, this is just to add it to the agenda. It has to be done unanimously, all those in favor? 3 in favor, no opposed. Okay, now we're back to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items that we have. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion on them? All those in favor? 3 in favor, not opposed. Thank you. Discussion items. We're putting discussion items ahead here. And I guess this falls to the administration and what I was going to talk about. Enhanced public access, YouTube transition and agenda pack. Who would like to introduce this? Anyone?
Mike or Chelsea, I believe.
Maybe Chelsea.
No, that's serious. It's all you.
We have our IT director here, Zach, and he and his team have gone through and made sure that we have integrated audio, and a new camera setup, so that we can have YouTube live and then have recordings for folks to watch afterwards. This is the platform that we're moving forward with for 2026. We hope that people will access our meetings if they can't be here with us in person, to stay abreast of all of the news. As far as the agenda packets, we'd like to have enhanced transparency for the public with so many big items of business taking place. So if the commission would like to discuss what they would like to have publicly available prior to meetings, then be the time.
I can address that, because I've been talking to staff about that. In Camden, when I was working in the select board there, we put basically the packet along with the regular meeting agenda on the town website. So everything was, as we discussing, everything was available for public to look at as we went through. Public had a right to see, and I see no reason why we shouldn't do the same thing. Because when I was running for the job, there was no way to learn about what was coming up for the meetings until I got it. And I think if I would do more, the more involved we get, the better off we'll be. So that's what I would like to see.
Well, I think we agree. The question is really gonna be, are there some things that are occasionally in our package that are, say, personnel related?
Right, and
That shouldn't be out there.
Right.
And exactly how we develop policy for what can and can't be out there. I think we all agree that we need to speed up the process of getting the agenda out and getting some of the background information and certainly departmental reports out in the public eye as soon as we can. But part of that question is, are there things in our packets occasionally that shouldn't? And how do we decide what is and what isn't? Do we just leave that to the administration and their best judgment?
I think they're very capable of knowing what should be out there and what should not.
I'd say my only other concern, not a concern about the transparency part, I'm as transparent as possible is my stance, but being a 3-person commission, our inability to discuss anything with each other in advance means that we have to discuss everything openly in these meetings, and sometimes things come up late that we know we need to address, and so sometimes waiting longer to get the agenda out is helpful because we can ensure that we have everything on that agenda that we need to discuss. You know, we can always add agenda items, of course, but
I think the way Camden did it, they tried to have it either Thursday or Friday before the meeting.
Yeah.
So it wasn't long-term, but it was there. But I mean, well, maybe we just do it, the Monday before the meeting. So there is, at that point, we should know everything that.
yeah, the Monday before seems the most realistic to me, just because things
Yeah,
pop up.
if everybody is curious about it, go to the Town of Camden website and look for select board and look under other meetings, and then they have the agenda, and then they have a note for packets, and you can see what they include, and it's very thorough and it's very helpful.
Well, then let's start with, since you both agree, Monday has our timeline in the packet, since we meet on a Tuesday, usually. Okay, and yes, thank you for doing all the work to try to switch over to another format, and hopefully that'll be also easier for people to get information. Thank you. Other discussion item includes commission meeting schedule for 2026. Date, time, and frequency. Are we happy with Tuesdays at 2?
I
Or
think
the beginning of the month? Oh,
We did have somebody from the public stop in yesterday and request an after work meeting, an after 5 meeting. So if that's on the table, I will let you know that the public has asked for that as early as yesterday.
Well, one of the things we had discussed is potentially having a minimum of 2 meetings in the month. One during the day, which allows people who are city employees to come during the day, and one in the evening. I don't know if that would suit us, if that's the way we want to try to do it, or if we want to just try for evening meetings, or
I guess I'd wanna hear from countywide staff members and their feeling about evening meetings. And whether or not that would be harder for them to attend. Certainly don't want people taking out of their off time to have to be in a meeting. That would be one question for me.
an evening meetings, or like a 5 o'clock meeting, or.
Oh, yeah, five, I mean, 5, I'm thinking, when I say evening, I mean 5.
Again, I just go back to the town experience, town of Camden, their select board meetings were at 6:30, and they did them twice a month. And sometimes it didn't really need 2 a month. You know, we could alternate months. 1 month at 2 p.m. meeting, I'm very comfortable with 2 p.m. I think it works well. And maybe not every other month, maybe quarterly, 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. meetings.
If you think it's helpful, I can query the employees and get some feedback for you within 24 to 48 hours to help make your decision.
Why don't we get some more information and table it for the next meeting?
Good.
Well, just a discussion, and it'll take.
I'd like to add to this discussion, we had planned to do some off-site meetings because we wanna, reach out into the communities and be in towns for our meetings. We had at least one of those planned for Idaho in April. Given the budget constraints and the restriction on travel for all county employees, we've decided to postpone that trip out to Idaho, but it's still really high on the agenda to get out into the towns with these meetings and connect with folks. So fingers crossed, once we have that 2026 budget approved and we can move forward, we'll hopefully be able to do those meetings offsite again.
We also have a meeting planned for North Haven.
We did, yes, that was Stanson as well.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep talking about it. At the moment, we'll just stick with our 6-month meeting, Olivia.
Get to where we're back in the case.
And then, department reporting, content and frequency. I would like to say, I do appreciate the big print in the, agenda. I don't need to keep switching glasses, get right so long, but it's working out pretty well. Department reporting, content and frequency. How does anybody feel about it? Departmental reports in general.
It's important to know what's going on, but sometimes, you know, if you ask for it too often, it becomes busy work instead of individual reports. So maybe find a way to let us know what's important and what we should know without having busy work. I don't know what that is. Mike, do you have a suggestion?
Well, that's what the department heads are looking for from you all. What do you all want to see? And maybe we can talk about that some more. And I can get you a template of what we think you should see, and we can work from there.
I mean, I'd be happy with quarterly.
Quarterly?
I don't know how others feel about that. I think the full reports quarterly, it cuts back on the amount of time that the directors have to spend on these reports, hopefully, and then, you know, as needed, the county administrator could bring issues to us that might come up in the interim. So the in-between times would really be more about critical items rather than just the updates. I don't know what you all think about that.
That's a great idea.
How do you feel about that, Ed?
I like getting them every month to know what's going on. I don't think they should be particularly long. a couple of paragraphs, usually plenty for us to know what's going on. An in-depth report would be every quarter. But certainly in terms of finances and how the department's doing, it's nice to know before it becomes a problem. But that would be my take, but if the two of you want quarterly, then that's fine.
Let me ask,
I think Michael also had his hand up.
If I remember right, Amber used to basically present for the department. That's an administration report, right?
Yes.
Which kind of covered everything. You can continue doing that and incorporate each department as needed when things come up.
I did appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, we can continue that.
Cause if you don't know what's going on, then we're in big trouble.
There's no reports, just assume everything's great.
Then there's the discussion, and it should probably be a report item, which says, airport solar array status. Who would like to address that, because we don't do any.
I guess what specific questions do you have? What are you looking for?
Well, we know that it's up and it's running and it's doing a great job saving the airport money. And saving some of the departments, the administration some money. Really, I think the question is, how do we deal with it? Was I guess a fencing issue?
Yes, sir, if you're referring to the screening, is that what you're getting at, the screening and the
deed.
deed?
Yeah.
The lien.
The lien, sorry.
Oh.
Liens or deeds.
Oh, the lien.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have legal looking in and working in on that now. We don't believe that's gonna be an issue. Is that still?
Yeah,
Then if you'd be kind enough to explain to everybody what the lien issue is.
Sorry, I was under the impression this would be.
nothing would be transparent.
Okay, so we have a lien that was given to us, or placed on us by the original contractor that was doing this work. That contract was canceled. Many years ago, the contract was canceled, the work wasn't getting performed. I wasn't here at that time, so I don't really want to speak on why that was done, especially considering this is a, legal working on this now. That contract was canceled, that contract was terminated. Contract then, however many months or years afterwards, was issued to a company called United, a bond company. So they essentially purchased this contract, so that was what Knox County had a contract with United, not the original contractor that has placed the lien on us. United chose as a subcontractor to use the same company that we had initially hired as a contractor, but had to terminate that contract. So, yeah, we have a lien that was placed on us by the original contractor, but considering there was contract, that original contract was terminated, and what they're referencing was work that took place with our contract with United, who is not placing a lien on us at all. Yes, sir, it's, the mic where you get.
why are they putting the lien?
They're claiming that it was cost that was, they're claiming that they had expenses that came up because I believe it was, they were promised work or they were expecting to do certain work. And that work was not given to them and they weren't ever paid for it because, they purchased these equipment, they planned to spend all this money, but then that work wasn't performed, so they don't, they didn't get paid for it, obviously. But again, that contract was terminated, so they should not have planned to do anything that wasn't in the contract, and Knox County did not have a contract for this person.
Seems like we probably shouldn't dig too much in the details since there's still legal action.
I agree.
And, but I think letting folks know that we are well aware of this issue and it is being addressed, I think is probably the most important part of the conversation today.
Have we paid all of what we owe to United?
Yes.
Would
We
we
have no
have paid
issues with United.
what we agreed to pay?
Yes.
And it's a contractor along the way who doesn't think that we paid them enough.
Yes, sir. It was the original contractor that was.
Okay, thank you. Then the interim budget implementation strategy update.
Sorry, I missed that. That one, great. I was apologizing to Jacob for putting him on the spot. What was the next one?
Interim budget implementation.
Implementation.
Yeah, very
I
much.
wonder, I don't know if I can-
Yeah.
Sure.
Strategy. As Kathy put on her flag.
At the last meeting, the commission had asked for us to work with department managers to come up with an interim budget, only identifying what is absolutely needed for 25 to see if we could operate within those parameters. We cannot. If we have to live within the 25 budget that we have, the interim budgets submitted by departments are still way above where we need to be. So based on that, we need to take more drastic measures to get through the next couple of months until we have a better idea of whether we can move forward with the 26 budget. We also want to be able to close out the year. Our projections as far as where we're gonna end this year, do not show favorable to be helping to fund our undesignated. But we're closing the year a little bit earlier and more aggressively than we normally do in order to have better numbers to be able to look at to make decisions about 26. So I guess from an interim perspective, we're still to need to dig deeper in order to meet the number that we have in case we have to live with it for an entire year.
One of the goals of this meeting is to see if we can get everybody their raises at the beginning of the year. And through this process that Kathy and I went through with all the department heads, we're not even close to being there. Therefore, even taking the raises out, we're still not even close. So we just need a little more time to be able to see if we can support that initial initiative, giving people.
I think part of this discussion really is to give everybody some guidance. And our guidance is, we only have last year's money to live with. And if anybody doesn't quite get that, it should be obvious at this point that that's where we sit. As you point out, at this point, we don't think that the last year's money is enough to do anything. But there are cuts that people are gonna have to make, whether we like it or not. We know that we're gonna have to cut funding, at least for a while, for travel, for as much overtime as possible. You know, yes, we understand that overtime is how we get things done in many cases, but we just don't have the money to pay for it. So whatever guidance people need is basically just don't spend. You know, if there's any question whatsoever, think about it.
Am I hearing you that even with that guidance, there's not enough money? Great.
We won't know sure till the end of the year, till the fiscal year closes out, which is why we're gonna put it off for another month or two, till we see what that gives us in terms of reserves.
I did see a note here that we're considering raises and up steps to be retroactively paid at such point as we get a new 26 budget.
When we actively start working on what we really need for 26, full year raises will be in there with the intent that if the budget passes, that it would retro back to January 1st. The only benefit of waiting to close the year is that if we end up more favorable than our projections were, then we may be able to replenish the undesignated that was used for the general fund, which would give us some wiggle room within the general fund accounts. But that does not help communications at all.
for any of the department.
What about the computers that they would need?
Their budget is 1.4, which is what they had in 25. Right now, without having the computers in, they're still, if we don't do raises and we didn't fill at that time 2 open positions, still 304,000 full. So I think when I guess it creatively that their numbers, the 1.4 they had in 25. If with what we need for staffing levels, the computers can be bought with all the other contracts, then they can be purchased. But there's no one designated right now for communications to pull from to help with any of that.
We'll have to wait and see if luckily there is a close to 25 that's better than.
Communications is not going to have undesignated in 25. If by some chance that there's this big swing in the next month, it's gonna be minimal and not enough to help.
Understanding the black and white of what you just said. We also have a situation where we have 4 computers that need to be replaced for a 24/7, 365 service that we need to provide. Do you have any suggestions how we do that? You know way more about where the funds are than.
I don't know if there's computers that can be borrowed from somewhere else to get through. I don't know what's required in their department.
No.
So off the top of my head, nothing is coming to me about that.
Is there an opportunity to replace 2 at once? Because if you replace all 4 at once, then you have nothing to work on.
Question for Bob.
To replace 2 while you're working off the 2 and then however long that takes, work out all the bugs, purchase your next 2, and hopefully by that time we're further down the road.
No,
You have to do all 4 at once.
well, they wouldn't do all 4 at once anyway, but if you purchase 2, now you're playing with ordering. And then when the IT department finishes up installing the 2, you order more. Well, what happens if the supply chain breaks?
Is the programming changed for the new computers? As you bring in new computers?
No, it's just would be the updated softwares and as computers come out.
Right, but that's something that the operators would have to deal with, so it'd be really uncomfortable going back and forth from old to new. Correct?
I don't think the dispatchers wouldn't see a difference other than speeds and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. We'll have to.
I think, we're hoping that we know whether we can move forward with the 26 budget in March or April. If we know we can move forward with the 26 budget, the risk is then much smaller.
Okay.
For purchasing computers because we would have a budget that can support them. If March or April, we find out we can't, that's a whole different situation. So is there an opportunity to pen to this computer discussion until we have a better idea if we can move forward in 26? If we can,
Obviously, there's nothing we can do today, so we'll have to, think on it, and hopefully by next month, we'll have more answers about what's happening at the state. And I don't have any good answers. I haven't seen any of this, but it's something we need to keep pretty close to, our minds.
You have the cost of these computers and all?
I'll tell my head no.
No. All 10, 11, 4.
We don't do that.
We need to renew those numbers because of serious volatility in pricing in the last 2 to 3 months.
Okay, can you just give us an updated one then?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Then we will move to our action items. And the first 2 action items were previously tabled. which was an act to approve the use of the 2025 adopted budget as the county's interim operating budget beginning January 1st. 20 until the 2026 budget is final. We want to take that off the table or leave that there? I don't hear anybody else weighing in, so. Yeah.
I was reading the next one as well.
And the next one is prioritize the continuation of scheduled CPI and step adjustments during the interim budget.
What we've just heard is that's gonna have to be a retroactive.
Probably, yes.
Probably makes sense to keep them both.
There, yeah. And they may just eventually, we can take them off the table, vote them down. We don't see these every month, but
Want them there for next month.
other action items. An act to approve hangar and land lease amendments for hangars 1 through 53 and authorize the chair to execute the amendments to lease terms for hangars 1 through 53. Okay. Yes.
So these are the general aviation hangars, and these were signed into place on say 2005. So these leases have been long-term, some of them have been transferred from one person to the other as we go. The lease as it's written has a 20-year term, so 2000 to 2025. After that, it has to be agreed upon for the renewing 10-year terms after that. So this would be agreeing to renew the first of the 10-year extensions.
Is this for all of the hangars that you have?
No, sir. This is just for hangars 1 through 53, and sometime last year, the commission voted to approve to extend the lease for hangar, I want to say it was hangar 20, but one of them has already been approved by you.
And to clarify, this is for the land under the hand.
Yes.
We'll own the hangars, this is for the land that the county owns the hangars are on.
Yes, sir. We do not own any of these.
And as came up in the meeting last night, each year, even though it's a 20-year lease, each year there is a built-in cost of living.
Yes,
raise.
the CPI index, the consumer price index, it's a certain percentage that the rates go up every year based on that.
You had said something a while ago, and looking at all the fees that we charge.
Yes.
As to whether they should be increased because they were no longer market value and we're going behind. Is this something that we should be looking at?
So this is something that I'm looking at. I'm trying to find what fair market value actually is for this. That has proven to be significantly more difficult than you would think. Just because, again, we don't actually own these hangars, and say what Augusta charges for land leases, Portland charges, it's so drastically different in our environment. That it's really tough to nail down the fair market value. You know, I do have our consultant Stantec, they are working on this and they are trying to help put those numbers together. But I mean, we really need to get these leases extended. Now, once we do have an idea of fair market value and what that actually is, whether or not that's higher than what it is or lower than what it is, or exactly the same as what it currently is, I think that once we have fair market value, then we could adjust future leases going forward. But I do think we need to have these leases extended and not be operating on month to month. I mean, these people do own these hangars.
But this is a lease this is a 10-year period?
Yes.
20?
The original lease was 20, the extensions are.
Oh, it's the 10-year extension, which can be done.
Yes.
But it seems that how do we change the fee if it's gonna go up halfway through a 10-year contract?
We would only be changing that for, typically when I come to you, that's for a transfer of lease from one person to the other. Once we have solidified, okay, this is fair market value, instead of transferring leases from one person to the other, I would suggest that we craft a new lease for that person going forward. This would just grandfather in everybody who's already here with a lease that both the county and the lessee have agreed.
So it seems to me that what we're doing is condemning ourselves and not being able to raise the fees for 10 years for most of these. without having all the information about how much we should really be getting.
The fees are raised by the CPI every year.
Right, but that's negligible compared to what it might be.
What it
I mean, we're not,
we just don't know.
right,
what it is.
yeah.
Is there an opportunity to do a 5-year lease extension? Short term, just.
We could do that, and then one would have to go in and, I guess, file a separate amendment that would say, change the language as opposed to say, yes, you're continuing on the lease as it's written. We would have to do, create a new amendment that says, okay, yeah, we're doing this instead for certain.
I just think until Stan Tech has done their work, I am kind of agreeing with you, Ed, it feels like not a great idea to commit to a full 10 years.
I know you wanna stop doing the monthly leases and move to this. Is there a particular reason it's not working to do the monthly leases till we have the information?
So anytime you have something that operates on a month to month, I mean, if you were to rent an apartment on month to month, after that 30 days, there's no telling, or there's no guarantee of what comes before or after. So if a tenant wanted to, sell their hangar, for example, well, it's really tough to do that, find a buyer that's going to buy this hangar when the lease isn't guaranteed, where 30 days from now, we can say, oh, we terminate your lease, you're done. There's no really, I guess, safety net, for lack of better words, for the county or the lessee.
Is there, would one more month, one more meeting allow you any time to get the answer? Was it Semtex?
I doubt it. I doubt that. This has been ongoing for many, many months now. And in the APAC yesterday, I believe one of the previous airport managers mentioned that when he had conducted this in the past, it took over. That's what I believe was said in the meeting. My recollection.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, when's the last time you had a conversation with them about it?
Yesterday.
What did they say?
They're still working on it and they're checking in to various other airports, and that it's hard to nail down land lease rates as opposed to like facility renting rates.
Well, we're not opposed at all to a 10-year lease. I think that's absolutely appropriate.
Yeah.
People knowing what they have, but I don't think that not having enough information to renew it for 10 years serves the county very well. So, I mean, if we have did we even move this? We haven't even moved it yet. But if we move it, I am certainly, in its current form, either gonna vote it down or vote to table it. But our motion to start off. So. And then it's been moving to that. Now we can talk about it. So, where do we stand? What other discussions do we want to have?
I don't want the owners of these hangars to feel any amount of insecurity about their property. So I really would rather not postpone a vote on this, but I would like to shorten the period of this lease, given that we were in this process with Stan Tech that could take a year for us to know exactly where we need to start. So I'm in favor of a lease, but let's make it, maybe 2 years. I don't know, something that gives some security, but it gives us flexibility.
And I don't know what the wording of the lease is, but it's a 10-year lease. What is it? It was a 20-year lease with the option to renew in 10 years.
Yes.
And so that changes the lease entirely.
Yeah.
We can't just say to somebody, oh, no, you can only renew it for 5 years, 2 years. Unless they then agree to that change.
I have a question. How is the relationship with Semtex? Whatever, so what's the name of the company?
Stantec, but
Semtex, yeah. How long have you been dealing with them?
I've been dealing with Stantec. They've been a partner for decades.
'Cause my concern is they're going, they didn't get that done. No, we don't have it yet. What if we took a month
took 1 month and you had to go to them and say, "Well, you're causing me some trouble. You need to get this done." Sort of put it on them to deliver.
I admittedly, I think that would be a little unfair to Stantec. I think that that's not considering how difficult that
I don't know
really
this company, I don't know the relationship. I'm just,
We have a great relationship with Stantec. I have nothing but faith in the work that they do. They have provided other individuals the same thing. They just haven't provided this specific section.
it's one of the
Having just attended the meeting that Jacob held the other night with Stantec remotely, they're pros. Yeah, they're very good. They know what they're doing. They came and spoke to us, several months back, and I'm with Jacob. I understand that they're doing their jobs. It's just a challenge. Jacob, I'm curious, this idea of shortening the lease for this, until the Stantec work is finished. How do you feel? How would you feel about something like that? Do you feel like that? I know you're recommending this, but just out of curiosity, would a change in the lease be not a good idea, or?
I can see the point. I can see where you're coming from with it. I do still think that just renewing it for 10 years is the best option, just because that is the agreement that was made between the county and LSC. We're just allowing that agreement to continue. We have no idea what fair market value is or isn't, or if we're too high or too low. Speculating.
We could be too high.
It's possible.
Yeah, sure.
And I did put this to the APAC, the Airport Public Advisory Committee,
Oh.
for their recommendation, and the APAC voted, I believe,
Yeah.
unanimous.
Oh, okay, that's helpful.
Yeah.
That's helpful to know. I don't know, given that, I'm a little bit more comfortable about approving what's before us. And knowing that Stantec is doing their work, and this is just kind of where we're at. I feel a little more open to voting for.
A member of the public did bring up yesterday about why are we, letting money off the table. Jacob was really clear, it doesn't affect the county anywhere else. The money does not go anywhere outside of the report, so.
Yes, the money all stays in the airport
Yeah.
house, and again, every year the rates do go up. The rates go up every year based on the consumer price index.
I would tend to say we gave the 10-year lease. The reason I question it so much is knowing what's happened with real estate in this region in the last, 5 years. The chances of the leases not being worth more money slim down, I think. But I think we owe, the people we have deals with, it'll go up in, 10 years and be gone in the blink of an eye.
I would also like to say that when these hangars do sell, which has brought a handful of them to you since, in my short time as manager. Once we do have fair market value, that's the time where, as opposed to transferring leases from one person to the other, that we can create what may be in the future.
So we're necessarily totally locked into these 52 leases.
Only if the original tenant stays for that amount of time.
Makes sense. Okay,
Okay, everybody ready to vote?
I'll vote in 10 years.
All those in favor? All those opposed? 2 in favor, 1 opposed. Next action item is an act to authorize the airport manager to sign the 2026 Cooperative Service Agreement between Knox County Regional Airport and the United States Department of Agriculture, Animal and Plant Health, and Wildlife Services. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Sir?
So this is just a renewal of the agreement that we went into place with last year. Same as last year, this contract is only, there's a cost associated with it. The cost is only if we call these people in to do work. And it's for removal of wildlife that may pose a threat to the safety of aircraft, whether that be deer on the runway or coyotes or anything like that. We didn't have to use it at all in 2025. In 2025, we made changes internally in our department that have significantly reduced the amount of wildlife in the airfield. The maintenance guys have done an excellent job of kind of cracking down on that. So we haven't had to do it in 2025. It's likely that we won't have to do it in 2026. But considering that it doesn't cost us anything to have it in case we absolutely need it, I suggest that we move forward with it.
Great. When the changes like higher ear stands, so that you can pick them up easier.
No, sir, per diem, with a per diem employee, or that's his whole. He's a per diem employee, I believe it's, he assists the maintenance department with little things here and there. But the maintenance guys that we have here today, I mean, it's unrealistic to expect them to spend hours of their day sitting, waiting for a deer to cross their path, like a hunter normally would. I mean, they're pretty busy as is. So this per diem employee has been doing that. We call him in whenever we have a sighting of a deer or something like that. He comes in, he has trail cameras, and he just takes care of that, and donates them.
Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor? Three in favor, none opposed. And the next item is an act to approve the updated airport parking policy, including revisions to administrative billing procedures and parking rates. Sir.
Is there a way to?
Yeah, so
Well, just, you know, we got a printout about what it is, just a summation.
Yeah, I just didn't.
Oh, okay, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Moved in second.
Yes, sir, it's just an update to our parking policy, to clarify some of the language on how we actually track and enforce parking. There are rate increases that are in this. Instead of $6 a day, it's gonna go up to $7 a day. And then some of the permits for an extended period of time are getting raised slightly as well, but it's nothing drastic.
How's the new company doing?
We had to terminate our agreement with Park Mobile that we had. We continued to track in-house with Park Mobile and just allow them to handle the billing and everything. And if they missed something, then we would bill them afterwards. We found that Park Mobile was only capturing about 20% of the people who were active.
Wow.
So had we not continued to track internally, we would have lost 80% of the parking revenue that we were expecting to. So we've gone back to doing it just the way that we were doing it. It is time consuming, but it is effective. And the administrative assistant spends a lot of time and effort keeping that program up and running. She does an excellent job of it. But yeah, this is more so just to clarify the language on how we're billing it, just to kind of make the policy that we have more clear, and then the rates are going to be up as well.
We're gonna put in parking meters too.
Parking meters and
Everybody else seems to be doing it. I think we want to get in on that.
it's admittedly, it's kind of an old school way of doing it, but for us, it works. I mean, it's been effective.
Any further discussion? Being as none, all those in favor? Three in favor, none opposed. The next one we have is an act to reappoint Leslie Robinson, Marion Robinson, Tammy Brown, and Morgan Simpson, and each of term beginning November 6, 2025, and November 5th, 2028.
So moved. Sorry, I'm just, for some reason I'm not seeing this.
Remove, suppose, since both people moved it, that counts as a second.
I'll say.
Any discussion?
Sorry, my sheet, or I'm trying to read it.
Yeah. These are the same people who've been doing this for a number of years.
Okay.
And we know that, at least I know that, there are a few state laws that affect us that are in process. I believe that they're trying to change the what the value amounts on commercial properties. So that if it's over a certain value amount, it doesn't go to our local board, it goes to the state board instead of the local board. And so some of the rules are changing around what this board does, but they've done a good job so far. I believe. Yeah. And they're all willing to serve again.
Absolutely.
Or we just put their names down without asking.
Yeah, just fill in the blanks.
Discussion.
Thanks for their service, I guess.
Yeah. In favor? In favor, none opposed. The next one is act to award, act to award the bid for the 2026 tax anticipation note.
So moved.
Sorry. Moved and seconded. Kathy?
We only had two banks provide bids. The lowest one is Machias. So recommendation is to award to the lowest. Machias also happens to be our bank and the bank that has been the lowest for the last 5+ years.
So the same conversation we had a year ago.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Three in favor, none opposed. Next action item is an act to approve a transfer from the undesignated fund to the contingency reserve. Is there a motion?
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion?
It is a requirement that we have $100,000 in our contingency, so this is replenishing the 100,000. And that account has been utilized for the communications per diem to get through this year. But it is not, it shouldn't be used as a funding source for developmental assets.
But what I was interested in is the amount, so it's for 100,000. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Three in favor, none opposed. An act to set the salary for the elected office of sheriff beginning in 2027 pursuant to Title 30A 373. So
Second.
moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a discussion with the sheriff about this. He said it's something that you should be earlier late last year, and obviously it hasn't been covered. He's totally comfortable, especially with how tough it is everybody else, leaving the salary where it is. And just going ahead and be advised next year is such case. And I think that's the proper way to go. I think that people leading should understand the situation where we are, should allow that to happen.
Good.
Thanks, Jim.
So this is for the next sheriff's term,
Right.
right? So he's not setting it for himself, he's setting it for the next sheriff, right?
Yeah.
I just want to be clear on that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure with how you worded that, if that was what you were.
It's already for it because there's an election coming up.
Gotcha,
So
okay.
next year.
Perfect.
It is a well-paid position.
Yeah.
County's in a tough situation. He
Yeah.
understands that. He has people that laid off and people aren't getting raises and such.
Yeah,
In the county, I think, if he's comfortable with it, and because most likely he will be our sheriff next year, then save the money where we can.
absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that you understood the two differences. Yep.
This is for the next sheriff, for the next term, and hopefully we will have a responsible new budget in there, which includes cost of living raises for everybody else. Are you saying that we're not gonna give a cost of living raise to the sheriff?
All I'm saying is, he had discussed it with me, he understands that he would prefer to just stay where it stays where it is. And it's an admirable way to deal with it.
Yeah, given that, I don't know if anyone else is running for sheriff, I haven't heard, but, it's my understanding that we have the second highest paid sheriff in the state, despite having.
And the best.
Despite having, a smaller county than some other counties that the sheriff is paid less. You know, I don't, I'm not saying that the sheriff himself doesn't deserve an increase, but if we were to have a new sheriff, I don't feel that the new sheriff, necessarily needs to come in at a higher rate than what we're at right now, so, I think we can, right now, the best that we can say is that, the 2025 budget is determining where we're at for right now, and for 2027. You know, especially given that the sheriff is open to remaining at that level, I think that, that is definitely the most appropriate in an election year.
If it's not going up any, I'm not gonna run. For sure.
Oh, you're not, oh, well done.
Okay, amended, it would be good wording to say that we want to keep it at the current rate.
Yeah, it just says act to set the salary.
What's that?
Stays at the current rate.
Stays at the current rate, yeah.
Do we need to, vote on making an amendment?
I think so.
I would make a motion to amend this to include the language that the salary will remain the same.
And a second.
Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Amendment passes 3-0. Any more discussion on the act as amended? If there's none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. That concludes our list of normal things on our agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to bring over still in objection? If not, then I will entertain a motion to move to executive session. Convene an executive session and discuss a personnel matter pursuant to 1 MRSA 405-60. Been seconded? Second, sorry. All those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
Bob's out there waiting for you to talk to you about the jail authority, give you some structure.
Oh,
Yeah, so after this,
okay.
if you have time.
We are back in session.
Wonderful. Okay, we're back in session. We've left executive session. We had one item on the agenda that we did not address. So we'll go back and work on that, which is,
I'm sorry, Chair, I just want to mention before, you usually say that no action was taken.
no action was taken because there's no action that we can take.
Yes, just,
Usually what I'm saying is when we pull it out, there's nothing that happened that we need to
yes.
vote on. Yeah. There's nothing that we need to vote on there. Though there is one thing that we will discuss shortly when we come out with it. Yeah. This is an act to call for nominations to fill the following 3 seats on the Airport Public Advisory Committee. For District Number 2, also for South Thomaston and Airport Business. Also to approve the nomination and appointment timetable as well as the January 13th, 2026 press release.
Didn't we do that?
Oh,
No, we just put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded, and this is, yeah. Fairly complex in terms of what the timetable is. I'm assuming this will be available to anybody who's interested. It's about the deadline and dates for all of those things. And we'll leave that up to the airport and to the administration to make sure that gets out to everybody. The 2026 timetable for appointment of APAC members and the whole. Yes. Any other discussion on it? If there is none, all those in favor? 3 in favor, none opposed. And the item that came out of the commission's executive session is we need to have another meeting and an executive session. And we'd like to schedule that for, if possible, for 2 weeks from now, Tuesday, and that's the 27th. And just.
And it will be at 5 p.m.
Right, and following up on what our discussion had been before, giving the public an opportunity to come address us in the public comment period. I don't think there's anything else at the moment on the agenda, but if there needs to be, sure, it'll be a regular meeting or a special meeting. So we can add things to the agenda, but we'll have a meeting then and hopefully with public comment, so it'll be at 5 o'clock if anybody would like to address the commission. 27. Great. Anything else?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
8. And we've discussed their next meeting, and so we are adjourned. Oh, no, all those in favor? Sometimes, you don't always have to vote in favor of it, just sort of with unanimous consent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've got it.
but
I think-
we are adjourned.